The dark web is a part of the internet that isn't indexed by search engines. You've no doubt heard talk about the dark web as a hotbed of criminal activity, and it is. Researchers Daniel Moore and Thomas Ridd of King's College in London classified the contents of 2,723 live, dark websites over a 5-week period in 2015 and found that 57% host illicit material. A 2019 study into the web of profit conducted by Dr. Michael McGuires at the University of Surrey shows that things have become worse. The number of dark web listings that could harm an enterprise has risen by 20% since 2016. Of all listings, excluding those selling drugs, 60% could potentially harm enterprises. You can buy credit card numbers, all manner of drugs, guns, counterfeit money, stolen subscription credentials, hacked Netflix accounts, and software that helps you break into other people's computers. Buy login credentials to a $50,000 Bank of America account for $500. Get $3,000 in counterfeit $20 bills for $600. Buy 7 prepaid debit cards, each with a $2,500 balance for $500, express shipping included. A lifetime Netflix premium account goes for $6. You can hire hackers to attack computers for you. You can buy usernames and passwords. But not everything is illegal. The dark web also has a legitimate side. For example, you can join a chess club or Black Book, a social network described as the Facebook of Tor. So deep web versus dark web, what's the difference? The terms deep web and dark web are sometimes used interchangeably, but they are not the same. Deep web refers to anything on the internet that is not indexed by and therefore accessible via a search engine like Google. Deep web content includes anything behind a paywall or requires sign-in credentials. It also includes any content that its owners have blocked web crawlers from indexing. Medical records, fee-based content, membership websites, and confidential corporate web pages are just a few examples of what makes up the deep web. Estimates place the size of the deep web at between 96 and 99% of the internet. Only a tiny portion of the internet is accessible through a standard web browser, generally known as the clear web. The dark web is a subset of the deep web that is intentionally hidden, requiring a specific browser, Tor, to access, as explained below. No one really knows the size of the dark web, but most estimates put it at around 5% of the total internet. Again, not all the dark web is used for illicit purposes despite its ominous-sounding name. The Into the Web of Profit report identified 12 categories of tools or services that could present a risk in the form of a network breach or data compromise. Infection or attacks, including malware, distributed denial of service, and botnets access, including remote access trojans, keyloggers, and exploits, espionage, including services, customization and targeting, support services such as tutorials, credentials, phishing, refunds, customer data, operational data, financial data, intellectual property trade secrets, and other emerging threats. The report also outlined 3 risk variables for each category. Devaluing the enterprise, which could include undermining brand trust, reputational damage, or losing ground to a competitor. Disrupting the enterprise, which could include DDoS attacks or other malware that affects business operations. Defrauding the enterprise, which could include IP theft or espionage that impairs a company's ability to compete or causes a direct financial loss. The dark web search engine. Dark web search engines exist, but even the best are challenged to keep up with the constantly shifting landscape. The experience is reminiscent of searching the web in the late 1990s. Even one of the best search engines called Grams returns results that are repetitive and often irrelevant to the query. Linked lists like the Hidden Wiki are another option, but even indices also return a frustrating number of timed-out connections and 404 errors. The dark websites. Dark websites look pretty much like any other site, but there are important differences. One is the naming structure. Instead of ending in .com or .co, dark websites end in .onion. That's a special use top-level domain suffix designating an anonymous hidden service reachable via the Tor network, according to Wikipedia. Browsers with the appropriate proxy can reach these sites, but others can't. Dark websites also use a scrambled naming structure that creates URLs that are often impossible to remember. For example, a popular commerce site called Dream Market goes by the unintelligible address of EAJWLVM3Z2LCCA76.onion. Many dark websites are set up by scammers who constantly move around to avoid the wrath of their victims. Even commerce sites that may have existed for a year or more can suddenly disappear if the owners decide to cash in and flee with the escrow money they're holding on behalf of the customers. Law enforcement officials are getting better at finding and prosecuting owners of sites that sell illicit goods and services. In the summer of 2017, a team of cybercops from 3 countries successfully shut down Alphabay, the dark web's largest source of contraband, sending shutters throughout the network. But many merchants simply migrated elsewhere. The anonymous nature of the Tor network also makes it especially vulnerable to DDoS, said Patrick Tiquette, Director of Security and Architecture at Keeper Security and the company's resident expert on the topic. Sites are constantly changing addresses to avoid DDoS, which makes for a very dynamic environment, he said. As a result, the quality of search varies widely, and a lot of the material is outdated. Commerce on the dark web. The dark web has flourished thanks to Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency that enables parties to conduct a trusted transaction without knowing each other's identity. Bitcoin has been a major factor in the growth of the dark web, and the dark web has been a big factor in the growth of Bitcoin, says Turquette. Nearly all dark web commerce sites conduct transactions in Bitcoin or some variant. But that doesn't mean it's safe to do business there. The inherent anonymity of the place attracts scammers and thieves. But what do you expect when buying guns or drugs is your objective? Dark web commerce sites have the same features as any e-retail operation, including ratings, reviews, shopping carts, and forums. But there are important differences. One is quality control. When both buyers and sellers are anonymous, the credibility of any rating system is dubious. Ratings are easily manipulated, and even sellers with long track records have been known to suddenly disappear with their customers' crypto coins, only to set up shop later under a different alias. Most e-commerce providers offer some kind of escrow service that keeps customers' funds on hold until the product has been delivered. However, in the event of a dispute, don't expect service with a smile. It's pretty much up to the buyer and the seller to duke it out. Every communication is encrypted, so even the simplest transaction requires a PGP key. Even completing a transaction is no guarantee that the goods will arrive. Many need to cross international borders, and customs officials are cracking down on suspicious packages. The dark web news site Deep.Web's teams with stories of buyers who have been arrested or jailed for attempted purchases. Is the dark web illegal? We don't want you to leave with the impression that everything on the dark web is nefarious or illegal. The Tor network began as an anonymous communications channel, and it still serves a valuable purpose in helping people communicate in environments that are hostile to free speech. A lot of people use it in countries where there's eavesdropping or where internet access is criminalized, Turquette said. If you want to learn all about privacy protection or cryptocurrency, the dark web has plenty to offer. There are a variety of private and encrypted email services, instructions for installing an anonymous operating system, and advanced tips for the privacy conscious. There's also material that you wouldn't be surprised to find on the public web, such as links to full-text editions and hard-to-find books, collections of political news from mainstream websites, and a guide to the steam tunnels under the Virginia Tech campus. You can conduct discussions about current events anonymously on Intel Exchange. There are several whistleblower sites, including a dark web version of WikiLeaks, Pirate Bay, a BitTorrent site that law enforcement officials have repeatedly shut down, is alive and well there. Even Facebook has a dark web presence. More and more legitimate web companies are starting to have presences there, Tiquette said. It shows that they're aware, they're cutting edge and in the know. There's also plenty of practical value for some organizations. Law enforcement agencies keep an ear to the ground on the dark web, looking for stolen data, from recent security breaches that might lead to a trail to the perpetrators. Many mainstream media organizations monitor whistleblower sites looking for news. Staying on top of the hacker underground. Keeper's Patrick Tiquette checks in regularly because it's important for him to be on top of what's happening in the hacker underground. I use the dark web for situational awareness, threat analysis, and keeping an eye on what's going on, he said. I want to know what information is available and have an external lens into the digital assets that are being monetized. This gives us insight on what hackers are targeting. If you find your own information on the dark web, there's precious little you can do about it. But at least you'll know you've been compromised. Bottom line, if you can tolerate the lousy performance, unpredictable availability, and occasional shock factor of the dark web, it's worth a visit. Just don't buy anything there. Enjoy contents like these, give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to Idea Haven.